So again, Michael from the RPG Academy. We're here tonight for Detention Live. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Chris. Chris, say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone. Now that I'm not messing up my audio.
And then joining us tonight as a special guest co-host is Ian. Ian is one of the co-hosts of the Undercommon Taste?
Yes,
there we go, podcast. So Ian, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you here. So tell us a little bit about your podcast.
All right, so Undercommon Taste is a TTRPG homebrew discussion podcast. We create and discuss homebrew content. Most of what we do is 5e oriented, but we do offer a lot of advice that is just general TTRPG advice. We've done a whole big series where we went through all of the different planes of existence in D&D cosmology, which is really helpful with Planescape finally coming out next year. So yeah, we managed to wrap it up just in time for that announcement. But we also do some other more practical hands-on stuff. Our most recent episode, we talked about incorporating food into your TTRPG world. You know, talking about the mechanics of trail rations and malnutrition, and how to add stuff to your game to incentivize someone to take the chef feat, for example.
Oh, nice.
How to
I've
make
had
a
several
sandwich.
characters that were chefs by trade. I enjoyed that quite a lot. My favorite was a Warforged because they couldn't taste food, so they were constantly cooking things and asking other people to try them because they had no idea what they tasted like.
Right, yeah. That's great.
Nice.
All right, well, thank you for being here. So if somebody wants to check out your podcast, I assume it's in all the regular places they can find podcasts.
Absolutely. We are on all of the major podcast aggregators and a few of the minor ones. Just search Undercommon Taste. We also on YouTube. So whenever we have interviews, all of our interviews, we do have a live stream of the interview on the Friday night before it releases. And then all of our episodes release on Wednesdays. Since we came back after episode 100, we have gone to an every other week schedule. So our most recent episode actually came out today, which is December 12th at the time of recording. We are skipping December 14th. Sorry, 14th, not 12th. We're skipping the 28th for Christmas, and then we will be back on Friday, January 6th on our Twitch stream, twitch.tv/Undercommon Taste, with solo RPG creator Sam Lee for an interview.
Okay. Yeah, this was actually going to be our last show of the year as well. We're not going to be meeting on the 28th. And then if someone wants to check out your podcast, they've not checked it out before, is there a particular episode? Should they go back to episode 1? Or is there like, hey, this is a really good example of we got the format down, a great guest? Is there one you'd point people to?
I would say probably the best, most recent one would be episode, I believe it's 104. We had Greg Tito and Shelley Mazanoble from Dragon Talk on to promote their new book, Welcome to Dragon Talk, and that was a really just great interview. So yeah, that would, if you wanted to start with one, it's a fairly recent one, so we've got all of our audio hiccups
Sure. Yep.
pretty much smoothed out by then. But yeah, that would be the one I would recommend.
All right. Very cool. Well, thank you again for being here. It's a pleasure to have you on the show. So we kick things off here every episode with what we call extracurricular. And we just talk about what we've been up to recently. It's, usually games we've been playing, books we're reading, movies, TV shows we're watching, but it can really be anything that you feel like sharing with strangers on the internet. So Chris, I'll start with you tonight. What you been up to, buddy?
Well, since I have a new computer, I've decided I'm going to play some games that people have told me for years are good. So I've been playing Star Wars: The Old Republic.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Running around as a Sith warrior, trying to crush the Republic.
Now, this isn't Knights of the Old Republic. This is the MMORPG Star Wars thing, right?
It is, but this guy's not joining anything. I just like playing the storyline, and I like it because I can jump on and play for a half hour, or I can play for a couple hours.
Right.
I don't want to lock myself into a guild and have to come in and do raids and all that. I have too busy of a life.
Yeah. Don't make it a job. It's not a job. You got to clock in and get your work done.
Yeah. And I have a wife that wouldn't be happy if I just sat down here all night playing games without her. She's okay if she's here with me, but without her, she gets kind of mad. Other than that, watching Willow, which you and I will talk more about that tomorrow.
Yep.
We also started a new show on Netflix. It's called You.
You?
You.
Or me? You.
Just you.
Just you.
Just you. It's very creepy.
I am creepy.
Yep. The descriptions kind of led me to believe, it's a guy that kind of just uses social media to kind of follow people. Nope. He's a full-out stalker. Falls in love with a girl that he meets once, kind of stalks her, then they date, and then just some really dark stuff happens. It's well done, and it's got me intrigued. But I also like some of that dark stuff every now and then.
All right. No, I never would have thought of that.
Yeah. Then the other thing we've been watching, and my wife laughs at me, I'm hooked on these shows. Just the silly ones Netflix does. Like we watched Love is Blind, where a bunch of people get together, they talk to each other through a wall, and then after like 4 days, they're magically in love and decide to propose to one another.
Yeah.
And then they spend 4 weeks trying to figure out, do they actually like each other? And I'm just so intrigued by that one. Or the other one was The Ultimatum, Marry Me or Not. So one person's giving an ultimatum. They come together. Then they all go on these little dates with each other. Then they spend like 3 weeks fake married to somebody else. Then they get back with her first, and they have to figure out if they're going to get married. I don't know. I just find them hilarious.
I mean, if you're enjoying it, it's fine. I will say that my wife is addicted to that Sister Wives show. It's about the polygamous marriage with Cody. It's been in the news everywhere. And I tell her, I love you less every time I see you watching that show. And yet she still watches it. So she just doesn't care about me, apparently. Yeah.
Well, my wife likes it because I sit there and make just dumb comments and almost Mystery Science Theater it and almost like popcorn at the screen. Like, you're an idiot. Say no to that person. What are you doing? And she just laughs. She's like, why do you keep watching this? And I'm like, it's a train wreck that I want to just make fun of.
Right.
And I tell her, it's nice to do that after a long day at work and just not really have a real thoughts. You're just kind of watching people do what they do on reality TV shows. Yeah. Other than that, just getting ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
And
it's not that far away.
Yep. I know. Kid comes back from college for a few weeks. So it's going to be interesting.
Nice. Yeah.
They have to wear pants around the house again.
You don't have to.
You don't have to, yeah.
I'm not a big fan when I don't. Last time I didn't, he ran up and slapped duct tape on my thigh. So he won. I looked at him and went, well played, sir. You win. And it's been a little while taking the duct tape off. So,
yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, Ian, what about you? Again, this can really be anything you've been up to recently, because Chris and I do this every couple of weeks. So we're usually just kind of filling in on what we've done the last couple of weeks. Yeah. But feel free to go back as far as you want. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, what you're into right now.
Well, right now I am I'm getting my hours in on the new World of Warcraft expansion. My guild has been dead for 4 expansions, and I'm an officer, so I don't want to leave. but I don't play often enough to really feel. I don't really feel like it's appropriate for me to try and recruit, because I'm not there to actually fulfill any sort of requirements to be a decent officer. Not that anyone else has logged in 3 years, but yeah. So that's mostly what I've been doing, game wise. Actually, the other day I dug out my old copy of Roller Coaster Tycoon. The first one for Windows 98. I had to get an external CD-ROM drive for my computer to actually run it.
Wow!
But it runs on Windows 10, so I'm happy.
I wonder if you can find that on Steam.
I looked. You can't find the original. You can find some of the newer ones, but the original And maybe I just wasn't looking hard enough, but I didn't find it. And the fact that I have the disc and I could install it from the disc, and the great part was it asked me to, register my install, right, by calling an 800 number. That just puts it into perspective. I think the game came out in 96 or 97. So yeah, it is definitely a return to my childhood with that one. As for things we're watching, I don't really get to watch a whole lot. My daughter usually steals the TV whenever she's awake. So lots of Bluey.
Mm-hmm. I hear that's good though.
It is. There are definitely worse things she could be watching, but that's most of what we get. Whenever my wife and I have a few minutes to ourselves to actually watch anything, we've been working our way through the Netflix Sandman series, that first season.
It was good.
And Critical Role season 3. We're only 25 episodes behind at this point. It's hard to watch a 4-hour episode of a live stream. It really is. But as for reading stuff, the most recent one I finished was At the Mountains of Madness, H.P. Lovecraft. Wasn't really a fan. I'm not a fan of Lovecraft's writing. He is terrible at descriptions. That's why everything is unspeakable, unknowable, indescribable horror. And to top it all off, he was a horrible racist of a human being.
Person. Yeah,
he was. There's something about whenever your racist friends tell you, tone down the racism, you're making us look bad. That should give you a clue.
Maybe a little.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
But the other one, the one that I'm working on right now, I have a bunch of old science fiction stuff. So I have this short story collection, The Feast of Saint Dionysios, Robert Silverberg. The first story takes place in the distant future of the mid 1990s.
I remember
following an astronaut who is the sole survivor of the inaugural journey to Mars. So, yeah, we didn't live up to that one either.
Missed it by that much.
That much. Yeah, that's the bulk of what I've been doing.
Okay.
Outside of, audio editing and that sort of thing.
All the time. So as for me, to just mention, actually, I just recently, last week, started streaming Warcraft, because I've never actually played World of Warcraft, but I started playing the original 1994 Warcraft Orcs and Humans campaign. So I've been streaming the human campaign. Today I played Mission 8 and was successful. I missed one day because of schedule stuff. So I guess I usually do Monday through Friday, around 1:00 in the afternoon. I stream those. So tomorrow should be Mission 9. So I'm having a lot of fun with that. Nice. I have been playing, non-streaming World of Warcraft. Again, Warcraft. I keep saying World of Warcraft. Warcraft 2 on a PC, because I stream off my Mac and I can't get a version of Warcraft 2 on my Mac. It's Windows only. So I'm not sure. My son's getting a laptop for Christmas. And if it will run it, I might borrow it and to see if I can use it to stream with, just to get that game out of the way. Because I'm just playing it for fun. At night, we have a PC in our bedroom. I sit there, play that while the wife watches Sister Wives. But I had a lot of fun, actually. Again, that's a game came out when I was in college. I bought my first computer with my own money just so I could play that game. My friend had a computer that would run it. I'm I gotta have that computer. So I went to it wasn't H.H. Gregg, but it was an equivalent of that. It was a name brand, but 3 of them. And I spent so much money on this computer. I got a credit card at the store. I mean, I probably put, I don't even want to think about how much I paid plus interest, because it was, again, I'm sure I was paying like 30% interest on this. It was ridiculous, but I got a computer that would play Warcraft, and that's all I cared about at the time because I was a stupid college student. So anyway,
Right.
So I'm having a lot of fun with that. And then I just recently broke back out the PS4 Spider-Man game, which is one of the best video games I've ever played in my life. I absolutely just love that game. But I don't have a lot of time for video games anymore. That's the problem with being just my life, is that I'm always editing and recording and scheduling and playing. And so it's hard for me to just sit down and play a game that's not for streaming or for some other purpose. But that game is so good. I'm borderline. Do I want to get a PS5 so that I can play the new Spider-Man when it comes out? The answer is yes. The question is, will I do it? Because it's so expensive. And I bought a PS4 like 6 years ago just to play the Spider-Man game whenever it came out. And that's literally the only game I have on it. Like it was complete. I loved that game, but it just wasn't a good financial decision. Going back to, again, college, buying a computer for Warcraft, there's a theme there if you want to get into it. I'm loving Willow. Absolutely loving Willow. It's exactly the right level of silly, irreverent, fun fantasy stuff that I need. I loved Andor, but it was hard to watch. It's very kind of depressing, and I needed something light and fluffy, and cotton candy, and Willow is absolutely hitting that for me. I still do a Smallville podcast. That's my other big podcast. I do a Smallville show, so I'm constantly watching, rewatching, taking notes, and recording Smallville episodes. I'm supposed to record season 5, episode 12. If anyone knows Smallville, that's their 100th episode. It's called Reckoning. A really big event happens in that episode. Again, if you're familiar with Smallville, I won't spoil it if you're not. But yeah, it's a big one, and it's also a big milestone. So we're almost halfway through the entire series. So that takes up a lot of my time. And what else have I been up to? Oh, I think I mentioned this before. So my life is weird, but I work at part-time at a school as like a media coordinator. I like write articles in the newspaper, and I'm supposed to be doing the program director for the radio station, but it's been a year and I still don't know what I'm doing. So I haven't actually done anything with that yet. But I also work isn't the right word. I volunteer through an organization called AmeriCorps, which is part of the Healthy Minds Alliance organization. And so I teach a class called Youth Mental Health First Aid to basically anyone I can get to take the class. Because I'm grant funded, I can do it for free. So this is also a plug. If anyone wants that class, call me or email me, because I will teach you for free, because I don't get paid for teaching you, but I do have to teach so many people every year. And I'm way behind. So anyways, I've been talking to that organization like, hey, why don't we do a podcast? So I'm sort of like working for them now, developing an official Healthy Minds Alliance podcast that once I'm done serving as a volunteer, they might, if it goes well and everybody likes it, which so far everyone does, like I put a couple episodes together as like a tester. So I might end up being a professional podcaster with Healthy Minds Alliance when this is all said and done.
Nice.
And that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm doing it anyways. Might as well get paid for it. It's only been 11 years, right? All right. So that's enough for extracurricular. We're going to jump into our first improv game, and this is called 10 Things. And the idea here is we're going to take turns prompting one another to try to come up with a list of 10 things that fit the prompt. The idea of the game is immediacy is more important than accuracy. So coming up with a list quickly is better in terms of how the game works than actually taking your time and thinking of 10 good examples that fit the prompt. Ian, you're the guest, so you get to choose. Do you want to prompt Chris or I first, or would you like to be prompted first?
Let's do the be prompted first. Just to get a feel for it.
All right, perfect. All right. So I have a good one. So I will prompt you. You will give the list. You will then prompt Chris, and then Chris will prompt me. And that's kind of how the chain will work.
Okay.
All right. So you mentioned that your daughter has been watching a lot of Bluey, and you've been mentioning that there's a lot of worse things that she could be watching. So give me 10 things that would be worse for her to watch than Bluey.
Oh, dear God. Okay. So there's Ryan's World. There's A for Adley. There's
2, 3.
Anything on YouTube right now.
3.
Serial killer documentaries.
4.
Oh, geez. I'm drawing blanks. Real Housewives.
5.
Sister Wives.
Sister Wives, yes. No
Yeah,
one
there
should
we
watch
go.
that.
It.
7.
See here. What else? Blair Witch.
8.
I'm just put on the spot and drawing blanks. Things to watch. Cocomelon or
Nope. Nope, 9. I said no.
Yeah, that's 9. And I'm just drawing a complete blank at the moment. It's not but Great British Bake Off.
Yay!
10.
That is in fact a list of 10 things.
That is a list of 10 things.
That is a list of things. So
I would let her watch Great British Bake Off. Just so
I love Great British. It's like one of my favorite shows to watch. It's like
Yeah.
balm for my soul. All right. So you will now prompt Chris to come up with a list of 10 things.
Okay. Santa's sleigh has crashed into an almost dead shopping mall. 10 things you find in the wreckage.
Okay. Reindeer meat.
1,
Bag of presents.
2,
Let's see. Goofy hat.
3,
A harness and reins.
4,
A sled.
5,
A pretzel dog.
6. Yeah.
Cinnamon rolls.
7,
The bottle of bourbon that Santa was drinking.
8,
A map to my house,
9,
poorly drawn. And we'll say Santa's pants.
10. That was in fact a list of 10 things. I will mention I actually also watched Violent Night. Have either of you seen or heard of that movie?
I've heard of it.
I'm waiting to see it.
I haven't watched it.
How was it?
It's a really dumb action movie, but I like dumb action movies, so it was an enjoyable dumb action movie. And and there's potential spoilers, very light, because I think maybe I'm just dumb, but I didn't quite understand the premise of the movie. I thought it was one thing, and it turned out to be slightly different. Essentially, it's a typical sort of action movie where one person is fighting a bunch of bad guys who've like taken a building, very Die Hard-ish, except the person is Santa Claus. I thought this meant like a mall cop Santa Claus. No, actual Chris effing Kringle magic reindeer flying. That is who that character is. So I was confused about that. Maybe I'm the only one, but yes, it's actual Santa Claus fighting against these bad people with guns and such. And if you're into that, it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's dumb action. So
yeah. All right. So now it's my turn. Chris, give me the prompt, please.
all right. Let's see. How about 10 foods that every adventurer should take with them?
Lambus spread,
1,
Kraft mac and cheese,
2,
one of those straws that purifies water,
3,
bubble gum,
4,
a ring pop,
5,
nerds,
6,
rope nerds,
7,
Snickers candy bar,
8,
so you don't get hangry, hardtack,
9,
and stinky cheese.
10.
Yay! That was in fact a list of 10 things. All right. So this is the point of the show where we normally do something we call used books. And that is where we bring on a guest and we have them talk about a campaign that they were a player or a DM in. We talk about how it went, maybe some good things that we could like take into other games, maybe things that went terrible that we can avoid or try to do differently. But this is our last show of the year, and Ian only knew he was going to be on here about 7 minutes ago. So we're not going to put him on the spot. And we're just going to take a look back at the year behind us. So this is our year-end show for Detention. So 2022 is in the rearview mirror. 2023 is in front of us. And sort of like a more extended extracurricular, but it's not necessarily games book related. It can just be anything that we're particularly proud of or excited about, for like what happened before and then things we're excited for in the future. I will go first and go quickly because everyone always hears mine all the time. Catacon was absolutely amazing. It was a fantastic year. I am happy to report that I have paid the final bill, and it was only slightly higher than I expected. Good. But I also expected it to be higher than it should have been, and it was only a little bit more than I had already planned for it to be too high for. So I wasn't terribly upset by how much it was, and I can report that we did make a profit this year.
Nice.
Now we were carrying some debt from the previous year, so I don't actually have that money, but my credit card bill is a lot lower this year going into next year than it was last year going into 2022. So I consider it just a complete, absolute success. 2023 in front of me, Looking forward to the faculty retreat, which isn't that far away now, 3 months away, basically. We're going to get back together in Michigan and play some games with a bunch of people. Next year, Catacon, we're already working on those details, but probably the biggest thing for me is Action 12 Cinema. It's the game I've been working on for a few years. I'm going to take it to Kickstarter February 28th. That's the day the Kickstarter will go live. So if you're into bad action movies, I got a game for you. And it's GM-less. It's zero prep. All you got to do is roll some D12s and tell a silly story with your friends.
Cool.
The other big thing I would want to talk about is I'm now running a game for my kids. They have some friends at school. We've actually added some players that now that we've started, they kind of want to jump in. So it's starting to grow a little bit. My kid is running games. They have a board game club at his school, and he apparently told him it was close enough. So he ran a one-shot for one kid who wanted to play last week at school. He's got a campaign he wants to run for his friends. So that nerd papa pride is coming forth where he wants to play games. He's asking me for help. He's like, how do I run a one-shot? It's like, this is perfect. I love you, son. And just so excited to sort of share that. Like he actually, one of the kids in his class that plays in my game has started listening to the podcast. So now I'm like, oh my God, what have I said that my kid's friend is going to hear me say, 10 years ago when I started? I sometimes talk about my kids on here, sometimes jokingly, but not flatteringly, type of a thing. So that's going to be some awkward conversations when we get there. But it absolutely thrills me that I get to play with my kids and I see them leaning into it and wanting to start playing games with their friends. And it's just, I truly could not be happier about that. And again, 2023, there's just wide open spaces. The job that I have, paying the bills as far as, it's kind of a weird job, but it's working for me. There's some opportunities for me to grow, maybe become this professional podcaster of that company. So I'm just very excited. I'm going into the year end extremely happy, excited for what's coming. And again, and I was like, Chris, I'm so happy that we get to do the show. I'm so glad that you were able to step in and become the regular co-host. And you honestly, at this point, you're probably my closest friend. Like, I think I spend more time with you than anyone else in the world, other than my family. Just, we do so many different things with Detention and other shows and playing, TTS together and all kinds of good stuff. So I just want to say that I appreciate you, buddy. I appreciate you being here and giving me your time every other week. And I love you, man.
Love you too, man. It's my pleasure. It's one of the few shows that, I should say shows. It's one of the things that I really look forward to doing because we just chat. Like, yeah, there's nothing better than just getting together with people and just having a real fun conversation. So yeah, I look forward to it every year. It's actually one of the things I'd already put on my list of things from this year.
Oh, nice.
That I really liked.
So we'll go to Ian next, just because, again, people who know us all the time, they probably already know everything we're going to say. So Ian, again, share as much or as little as you want. You don't have to get personal against whatever you want to share, but is there anything in 2022 that you're particularly proud of or you were excited about, things you're looking forward to in 2023? Just whatever you want to share with us.
The 2022 was a pretty big year for us at Undercommon Taste. We hit 100 episodes. The same week we hit 100 episodes, we hit 3,000 downloads. So that was nice. That was a big milestone for us.
Absolutely.
And yeah, we've done a lot of stuff. We've got a whole bunch of stuff up on our Patreon that, different monsters and stuff that we've created. Either the two of us, my co-host James and I, created together, or in collaboration with the guests that we have on our show. We have a section called the Monster Mashup where we roll dice on a random table, and on the fly we just throw a monster together based on the die rolls. And we have had some absolutely amazing stuff come out of that. For 2023, we are looking forward to that. To try and get into a bit more content creation outside of the podcast, because we finally we decided to shift from a weekly to a bi-weekly podcast so that we would have a bit more time to work on other stuff. And so we've got a few projects in mind that we're going to try and work on over the next year. Some campaign settings, some adventure modules. We're considering doing a patrons only podcast episode to fill in our every other week, try and generate a little bit more revenue, because we are not breaking even yet.
Yeah.
Good luck.
I know that.
It's tough to do.
I will be happy whenever. I will be ecstatic if it ever makes enough to pay the hosting fee. Mm-hmm. I will be ecstatic if we just break even at that point. But other than that, yeah. Another thing that we did in 2022, we finally got an itch store put together, and currently we have one thing in our itch store. I made a module for the game Liminal Horror. We had the creator Goblin Archives on for an interview, and I created a one-shot for that during the Liminal Horror Tales from the Void jam on itch, and I'm real happy with it. The content, anyway, the layout is kind of amateur. I will admit that. It was the first time I did real layout in any sort of software, so the fact that it actually came together and looked the way it was supposed to whenever I generated the PDF, I'm just gonna say I'm happy with that. So
more than I've done.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so yeah, we've got a few things done, and got a big plate full of stuff to start digging into come first of the year.
Fantastic. Well, best of luck with that. And again, when this goes out audio only, I'll put the show notes together. So links to your podcast and your itch store and anything else you'd like us to link, we'll throw in there and try to make it easy as possible for people to find your stuff.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
All right, Chris, what about you, buddy?
Whew. Boy, this has been a busy year for me. Quentin went to college, so moving him, 9 hours north of us. Still in the same state, but 9 hours north, which means
I could be 4 states away in that same 9 hours. If I head south and you head north, I think I'll be in Florida by the time you're at the Upper Peninsula.
Probably pretty close, but yeah, they've got more snow than I do, but his school has heated sidewalks.
Oh, nice.
So I thought it was kind of funny. They're like, oh, we have snow. I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to shovel. Like I have to shovel and snowblow when we get snow. So it was a unique experience, because he's been with us for 18 years now.
Yep.
And to that first couple of weeks of getting up in the morning and being like, is he up and ready for school? Like you turn to go to his room and you're like, oh wait, he's not here. Or like for me, the first time we went to scouts without him, I actually looked down the hall. I was like, hey Quentin, are you not here? I was going to ask if you're ready, but you're not here. So a lot of adjustments with that, but he has adapted amazing. I knew he would. I mean, he joined the Ultimate Frisbee team, and he's running around a field throwing a Frisbee around. He's made a bunch of friends up there, and he's making his own little life, which is nice. My wife and I talked about it, and I said, honey, it shows that a lot of the decisions we made were right.
Right, yeah.
Some were wrong, but obviously most of them are right, because he's getting up at 5 a.m. to do the ROTC stuff, where when I went to college, 5 a.m. was usually
about the time you crawl in, right?
Yeah, it was bedtime for this guy, who started as a biomedical science major and ended up with a communication degree. I'm not going to say bourbon led me in that direction, but not going to class did a whole lot of damage to that. So, that was a big adjustment. Work-wise, I run a pretty large little medical supply company office here in town, and I actually grew the number of staff we needed and set a couple records this year. So I was pretty proud of that, especially since we're in some shortages for some equipment. So we had to get a little creative with, okay, how do I get this equipment to go set it up? So I've driven around the state to find stuff and do different things. So I was pretty proud of that. In the past, I've run an office and made some mistakes, and this time when I had a chance, I kind of reinvented myself and said I'm going to take a much more positive look at things. And this year especially, it's been for every negative person I run into or negative encounter, I'm going to remember the 10 other positive ones I had around it. And I'm going to focus on that, and I'm going to talk about that with my staff and not be like, oh my God, can you believe this customer wanted blah, blah, blah. Instead, it's like, hey, did you see all these awesome people that helped us out today and made life easier? And it really changed how the office is run. So I was kind of proud of that. This year I did actually get 4 different weekends where I got to just play games. The 2 faculty retreats, and then I had 2 others with some other friends. I'm looking forward to those next year because those are, especially the faculty retreats, because not just you and I get to game, but I get to bring my wife. She gets to hang out with everybody, and everybody's been so great with those retreats. Like, hey, what kind of game do you want to play? I don't want to play a dumb party game. Here's 3 or 4 people that want to go play that, or I want to go play this 3-hour game. You get 3 or 4 people to go do that. So it's nice to do that. Plus, we get to actually game and not have to run a convention or do any work.
I still would like to get a little bit more role playing in there because that's still my love. But board games are just so easy to get in and out of I think that's why we default to those more often. But it wouldn't bother me if we had like one good RPG session each time too. Like on Saturday morning, like 4 hours RPG. That'd be a good thing to have on Saturday.
Yeah, I've thought about the first Academicon that I ever went to. I wrote a module, and I've ran it ever since then, multiple times. And this year, I found myself phoning it in. So my thought was to run it at the faculty retreat and then retire it.
Nice, yeah.
Or hand it off to somebody else and go, here's my notes. Try to follow them because they're
good luck.
Pretty vague.
It's like a Jedi holocron. You have to, commune with it.
Yeah, you got to figure it out. One big thing, I got the copy of the Dragonlance book you sent me. Super thrilled with it. It's really inspired me to get back to Dungeons and Dragons, which I haven't played in probably a good year or so. And
I also picked up the Dragonlance book.
Nice.
I said it a while ago. It's probably the only way that D&D will bring me back, thinking that they would never release it. We're Forgotten Realms. And they did that Fizzband book, and I was like, oh, are you going to... And then they didn't do anything else. And then this gets released. I was like, you got me. And I'm sure that it was all because of me. I'm sure they watched this show and they're like, we got to get that guy. Speaking of other games and stuff, I'm still waiting for my Marvel Zombies.
Yep.
As soon as I get
I didn't do Wave 1, though, so I don't think I'm going to get mine until like next June.
I'm pretty sure I did Wave 1. So I can't wait to get that and crack it open and start playing. Other things I did this year, it was... Like I said, Quentin left the house, so that actually allowed my wife and I to actually grow a lot closer. Which, if you told me that, a year ago that we've been married 20 years, how much closer can you guys get? Having more time to each other actually brought us a lot closer. It also made us sometimes notice each other's little quirks and kind of be like, stop doing that. And then, we just kind of make fun of each other for it.
Yeah, my mom retired this year in April, and let's just say that the adjustment period with her being home all day took my dad some getting used to. Because, he'd been home, basically he'd been home by himself all day for the last almost 30 years.
Wow. He
had the entire day to himself for almost 30 years, and now suddenly she's not leaving in the morning. So it took a little bit of adjustment for the two of them to get that dynamic straightened back out.
I'm not sure what I would do with myself if I was home all day alone.
I love it. It's great.
I don't know.
I loved it for the 2 years where I had that, and then the wife's like, no, you got to go back to work. But yeah, it was pretty good for a couple of years.
I'm also a big introvert, so I adore having that time to myself.
See, oddly enough, like, I don't consider myself a huge extrovert, but doing things like this, or even just when we do like the tabletop simulator, that really does recharge me. It makes me feel better. But if we had 40 people on this chat, I'd be like, I'm out. Like, that's just too much for my brain.
Yeah.
So small groups I'm really good with. But one of the other things I'm looking forward to next year, though, is with a scout. I'm a scout master. I've had a lot of adults step up. They're starting to train in other leadership positions. Hopefully soon somebody will step up and I can train them to be scout master, and I can finish with my goal of the last few kids that I've known since they were born, getting their Eagle Scout, and then I can step out. And then I'm like 90% convinced to start a new project. I'm not going to name that project's name, but there's a chance that I might be having a new project that I'm working on, which I might talk with you later, Michael, about this project that I'm potentially going to do.
I am known for having a lot of projects that I announce and never finish. So I can help you with that if you would like. And if you actually want to do one, I have a couple of those too.
Yeah. So
actually, I did want to talk to you too. I've been running that Scooby-Doo Dread I don't know, for like 8 years, and I love it. But I'm almost at the part where maybe I need to retire that too. And I ran one time at a Catacon a Star Wars Dread game where I had labeled some of the blocks with white stickers and some with dark stickers, and those represented light side and dark side. And when you randomly put the tower together, sometimes you had to pull bricks with the black stickers on them, like you just couldn't help it. And in the game, that referenced you having to tap into the dark side to overcome something. And then I had the rules that if you pulled a brick out that had the black sticker, you didn't put it back on top. You had to set it to the side, which limits how many times you can pull, because the more dark side you have, the harder it'd be. I think it's a really cool idea, but the game I ran was pretty awful. I think we should work on a Star Wars one together, incorporate those rules and maybe make that my Catacon thing. Because I love that Scooby-Doo, but I've ran it so many times. Kind of like you, I don't really, it doesn't work as well for me anymore because I've done it so many times. So we can chat about that offline though, but that's something I wouldn't mind maybe working with you at the faculty retreat on.
That'd be fun. That's all the list or the stuff I had on here. So it's kind of a busy year at the same time. Still got a lot of things I wanted to do done.
Yeah, I got COVID twice, so that was fun. Not at all.
I skipped it this year.
Well, good for you. I
I've
work in a school
so
now,
far.
and I have 2 boys in a school. There's no way around it for us.
Yeah, I since I deal with the public all day with people coming in and out, I was surprised, but we've got a lot of infection control stuff we have to do because we do medical supplies. So before anybody comes in, you got to wash your hands. After you do an appointment, you got to wash your hands. You got to wash down all the tables, and that's been the rules ever since I started. 18 years ago. This is nothing new. Just now with COVID, you have to ask those questions before they come in for the appointment, and make sure if somebody coughs in the showroom before you bring them in, you're like, we're gonna put masks on just in case.
Yeah.
So
But we've been fairly lucky so far. I mean, my daughter's had several exposures at daycare, but she hasn't caught it yet. We've finally managed to get her vaccinated this year, which was great. But my wife finally caught it for the first time last week.
Oh no.
So yeah, it's been a rough couple of weeks in our house because she's been in quarantine. She was in quarantine all last week, and now she's going through she finished her 5 days in quarantine. Now she's doing her 5 days masking, and so
that was 3 or 4 weeks ago for me. My wife got it, which is why I had a nice little cut here, because genius me brought her dinner one day and set it outside the room downstairs. Forgot there's a wall directly behind that door and turned around and went headfirst into it.
Oh man.
Fun.
Yeah. Which, funniest part of that story, smack into the wall hard enough, I'm bleeding all down my face, cussing and swearing. Wife heard none of it. A couple days later, she happens to see me from a distance and go, "What's on your head?" I'm like, "A Band-Aid?" Covering most of my forehead. She's like, "Why?" I go, "How did you not hear me hit the wall with my 220 pounds behind my forehead?" She's like, "I was reading a book." I'm like, Must have been a
Probably-
great audio book.
Yeah, had earplugs in and everything.
Yeah.
So we'll throw it out to the audience. We don't really have, I don't think we have anybody watching now, but again, if anyone who's listening to this in the future, either audio or it's on YouTube, if you have anything you want to share with us, anything you're particularly proud of in 2022, anything you're particularly excited for in 2023, I'd love to hear those from you as well. You can email them at the RPG Academy at Gmail, or you can just list them in the social media posts when we post this on Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of good stuff. But yeah, I like to be excited about things, and I would love to be excited about the same things that you're excited about. But
Sure.
we will move into cryptozoology. I actually almost forgot where my finger's been. Oh my God, New York Taylor would have flipped some
Screamed.
tables. So next we're going to do our second improv game, and this is Where Have My Fingers Been? And this is a game where we will once again take turns prompting each other to kind of make up a scene involving two or more, if you want to get froggy, individuals, just little finger puppets. It helps if it has a beginning, middle, and an end. I usually leave at least one of those out because I think it's funny. Ian, you again are the guest. So would you like to go first in terms of giving one of us a prompt for where our fingers have been, or would you like to receive your prompt for where the fingers have been?
Let's give this time.
All right. You can choose me or Chris, either one.
See here. I guess we'll go with you, Michael.
All right. So I will sing the song. And then after I sing the song, you can give me your prompt. Where have my fingers been? I said, where have my fingers been?
All right. So it's two parents, and one of their kids has just informed the other of their kids that Santa is not real.
All right. Well, it's happened. You don't mean it. No, not that. Get your mind out of the gutter. Jacob told John that Santa Claus isn't real, but he's not real. Well, I know that, and you know that, but the kids aren't supposed to know that. They're 27. Okay. I'm pretty sure they've known for a long time, and they know they keep getting gifts. So they tell us that they believe in Santa Claus, so they get a gift every year. Damn it. I think you're right. And that's where my fingers have been.
Yay.
Yay. All right. So that means I will prompt Chris, and then Chris will circle the loop back to you, Ian. So Chris, sing the song, please.
Where have my fingers been? I said, where have my fingers been?
Your fingers are out shoveling snow, wondering why you don't have heated sidewalks.
God, this is so boring. I know. Just keep working. All right. You know, why don't we get heated sidewalks? Do you know how expensive that is? No. But we'll put it on your card. No. We'll put it on your card. No, yours. No, yours. Ha ha. Trick question. We have the same card. I hate it when you're right. Let's put it on Michael's card. Good idea. And that's where my fingers have been.
A catacomb will have heated sidewalks this year. All righty. So, Chris, Ian, you have to sing the song, and
All right.
then you will get your prompt.
So where have my fingers been? I said, where have my fingers been?
You're two adventurers packing for a trip.
Did you get the rations? Yes, I got the rations. Where'd you get the rations? Does it matter? Yes, it matters. Why does it matter? Because last time you got them from Gurgnak. Yeah, and what's wrong with Gurgnak's rations? You do realize that we're human, right? Yeah. And Gurgnak is a kobold? Yeah. And you know what kobolds eat? You're right. I'll go get some rations. And that's where my fingers have been.
Yay! Thank you for playing along. New York Taylor appreciates it. Okay. So now we will move into cryptozoology, and this is the segment of the show where we talk about a monster, usually from D&D, but not always. We talk about ways that maybe we have used this monster in the past. We brainstorm some ways we might be able to use this monster in the future. We hope we can try to come up with maybe some interesting and creative ways to use these creatures. Ian, so even though it was short notice, you had a monster you wanted to bring to the table. So what are we talking about tonight, sir?
All right, so as I have mentioned, one of the things that we do on our podcast is we homebrew monsters. And so last year for Christmas, we did several different creatures from different holiday stories. We had the Nutcracker. See here, we had the Yule Cat. But the one I brought tonight was Krampus. Krampus is very near and dear in our home. My daughter has a little. She doesn't have Elf on the Shelf. She has Krampus in the corner. And she absolutely adores Krampus. This year, she took Krampus to daycare with her one day, and the rule was you can bring him and show him, but he has to come home with me. I can't leave him there. And apparently that evening, the head of daycare called me and said, "Yeah, can you please not bring him back because." Apparently, one of the kids had told another one of the kids that you were naughty and Krampus is going to put you in a sack and take you away. And that kid had a whole big meltdown with his mom when she came to pick him up, thinking that Krampus was going to come and steal him away. And like, she wanted daycare to call the police and is like, this is why your kid is bad, okay? This is why your kid is the troublemaker. Anyway, so for anyone who is unfamiliar with Krampus, Krampus is basically Santa Claus's right hand in a lot of German Christmas traditions. You end up having Krampusnacht, which is the night of December 5th. And then you have Nikolaustag, St. Nicholas Day, on December 6th, where, overnight the kids will leave their shoes out and they'll put like oranges and chocolates in the shoes. And it's where the origins of hanging up your stocking to get presents in your stocking comes from. Krampus is probably the least problematic of the different traditions of Santa's compatriot. The one from the region of Germany my mother's from is Schwarze Peter, or Black Peter. And you can imagine why that's a problem, because Black Peter is a Spanish Moor, which usually means someone walking around in blackface. And yeah, so the tradition with that was if you were bad, Schwarze Peter would pick you up and stuff you in the sack and take you back to Spain and make you work in the coal mines. Yeah. And there's lots of heavy racism going on involved with all of that. So we're getting away from him. Krampus tends to be, because Krampus is the one that is an otherworldly creature. He is, kind of a monstrous being. He is ironically the safest option of all the dramatic traditions surrounding this. But yeah, so basically his whole thing is if you're naughty, he whips you with birch switches, and if you're really, really naughty, he sticks you in a stack. He sticks you in a sack to eat you later, to snack on you later.
Right, yeah.
As you do, you eat naughty children. That's another great German pastime.
Yeah.
I mean, you've read the original Grimm's fairy tales, right? They're all
some of them. Yes,
they're all about like that. Yeah. So Krampus was one of the monsters that we made for last year. Whenever we made him a fiend, a devil. Looking back and thinking on it a little bit more, if we were to redo him, I would probably make him Fey. I would probably make him an Archfey instead.
Okay.
It just he has that insidious streak to him, but it doesn't feel like it's evil, right? It just there are certain criteria you have to meet, and if you meet those criteria, Krampus can't touch you.
It's sort of like a weird bargain situation. Like
Yeah.
if you're good, you are immune, but if you're bad, then you have violated the terms of the bargain, and therefore I'm owed your service or soul or whatever.
Your sweet child flesh. That's
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And so
it's almost more like he's almost lawful evil in a way, if you put it in like a role-playing term, and not so much just evil.
And that's where we set his alignment. We made him a devil as opposed to a demon, and so he has his own little domain on the, I think, the seventh layer hell. I think it's that was one of the frozen ones, and he has his sack, which basically works the same way as an Astral Dreadnought's donjon, only that it is a snow globe instead of a 300-foot featureless cube that is its own demiplane. And so whenever you get put into the sack, you end up going into the demiplane.
So I have never used Krampus in any of my games, so I can't rely on any of that. Chris, have you ever used Krampus, or even just any sort of holiday themed adventure that you can think of?
I haven't. It does remind me, in the Dresden Files books, they have Krampus, and you said a Fae. That's exactly what he is. He's a Fae in there, and he does work with Saint Nick. They tied a lot of the lore into it. He's a little more powerful than just your average Fae. That popped out at me. I've never really done a holiday-themed game, other than a Star Wars Life Day. But
yeah, I think we talked about that last time, but we hadn't really done that. So, but the only thing I can think of here, like the first thing that came to my mind, because you sent me the PDF, so thank you, and you mentioned again that you put them in the sack, and then they basically get put in this snow globe demiplane until later. It's like a holding place. Is that there is either something or someone that gets put in there. Obviously a child might be the easy answer, but I'm thinking maybe the child was holding something and now there's like a magic ring or something that's what we're particularly after. And we have to find a way to get in and out of that demiplane. That's the adventure. It's not killing Krampus or defeating Krampus. It's how do we get in and out of his magical sack, sounds dirtier than I meant it, without him realizing that we were there. And then, of course, then you have the whole globe full of naughty children that you like. Do you just let them be eaten, or do you try to save them? That's that's for the players to decide. But I think I would design the adventure around trying to get in and out without being without notifying the Krampus that we were there, type of thing.
See, playing off what you just said, what if the Krampus has kidnapped like Damien from the Omen, like this is the child that's supposed to destroy the world, and he's holding him in that snow globe as kind of like a prison, and now the players free this. They're like, oh, the Krampus is evil. Oh, wait, that was worse. Maybe we shouldn't have done that. Maybe we should have done our research. I like to do things like that to players who are just kick the door down and kill everything, and then it's like, smack, there's consequences. Think about your actions and do your research a little bit. Just because I think that's kind of fun to do sometimes. No, that's going to take the right table.
Yeah, of course. With all things.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stories about like Saint Nick needs help, and like players or characters, or just in stories, characters have to step up and help Saint Nick complete their mission so that all the good boys and girls get toys. What if there's a version where Krampus like gets a hamstring issue and like you have to step up and you have to fulfill Krampus's duties, or there's some cosmic balance thing where if Krampus doesn't do what they're supposed to do, it makes things much worse. So then you have to like start going around, and I don't know if I want to finish that sentence, but so yeah, I'm thinking about that. Maybe
that's possible. Again, keeping the balance of the world.
Mm-hmm. I think the the one that we actually came up with whenever we were talking about this during the episode when we presented it was basically Krampus has snatched a kid, and his parents want you to get the kid back.
Mm-hmm.
That's the obvious first go-to, which probably means that it wouldn't make for a really compelling story without throwing a few screwballs in there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the first place that my brain goes.
Or maybe have something where Santa Claus and Krampus get their sacks intertwined. Again,
sounds
30
dirty.
than a minute. And so Santa is trying to deliver presents, but things keep falling in there, and Krampus is trying to steal kids, but he keeps giving them presents, and it's just like this whole screwball comedy thing where you've got to like get the sacks to the right place.
Still sounds dirty. Or I playing off what Ian was saying, what if you're hired by like a king to go rescue, their son? You rescue him to find out it's not really their son. It's the son of the rival king, and you've just thrown off the balance between the two cities. So yes, you did a good thing by slaying Krampus and rescuing these children, but you didn't know that there was an ulterior motive behind it. Again, those are the games I like to run, where the players, until they're higher level, are really pawns of more powerful beings.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple instances in media, like particularly I'm thinking like there's a Justice League Unlimited cartoon episode where all the superheroes turn into kids, and like they have to be taken care of as like babies and children. So maybe there's something there. It's sort of like one of those careful what you wish for. It's like a holiday time. All the characters are just holed up some village somewhere, and there's some ritual that happens that turns them into kids for the night. Like a djinn or something. But then because they are now technically less than 18 years old, they have crossed the threshold. Maybe only some of them are there. And now Krampus is like, oh, you've definitely been like, you got some murder hobos. So maybe those are the ones that get turned into 17-year-olds, and they're thinking, oh, this is sweet. I'm 17. I'm in my prime for the night. And then nope, now Krampus is after you, and you just have to avoid him until
that would be fun
till midnight, and then the whatever's you'll turn 18 or something like that. So it's not fighting Krampus. It's almost like a Home Alone style. Can we avoid Krampus for 12 hours so that we survive type of a thing?
It's kind of like that the game Alien Isolation, where you're just trying to avoid the xenomorph.
I'm not familiar, but I mean I grasp the concept. Yeah.
So the bulk of Alien Isolation is hiding in places whenever the xenomorph shows up, because 99 times out of 100 you lack the firepower to actually fight the xenomorph.
Right.
And so if the xenomorph finds you, it will eat you. And so yeah, that would be an interesting game where, basically you'll revert back to your normal age when the sun comes up.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck getting to sunrise.
Right. Yep.
That could be a good Dread game.
Yeah, that could be a fun Dread game. Yeah. If the tower falls on you, then you were caught by Krampus, and then the rest of the characters keep going. Someone survives, because then that could be the second half. Is as long as one person survives, then they have a year. We'll play with the mythology a little bit to then go into and try to rescue your friends before they're eaten, type of a thing. All right. So I could definitely have some fun with that. So as always, we'll throw it out to the audience. If you have had any experience with the Krampus, or if any of the ideas that we sort of brainstorm stuck with you, and you end up running an adventure, or you bounce off of something we said and go in a different direction, I still would like, for you to share that with us. You can email the show again, the RPG Academy at Gmail, or tag us in any of our social media posts. So we're going to wrap up the show as we always do with our audience Q&A. I don't think we have anybody watching, but we do have one question that we always ask all of our guests the first time they're on. So if I will give them an opportunity for questions to come in case someone is watching and my numbers just aren't accurate. And we also know there's a little bit of a delay. So while we're waiting to see if questions will come in, we'll go one more time around the horn. Everybody can give their socials and plug anything they would like. So Ian, we will start with you. Once again, where can people hang out with you, find you online? And if you want to send them again to a specific episode, please do. We do have Sumkey here. He's actually hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being here, buddy.
All right. So we are still on the burning husk of Twitter. We have not abandoned ship yet. You can find us at UCT Homebrew. We are also on. I've gone over to Mastodon. We're at Undercommon Taste at dice.camp. That's where we are at Mastodon. I haven't done a whole lot over there because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It is a big culture shock going from Twitter to Mastodon.
I'm just double posting. I'm on Mastodon as the same Dice Camp as well. As whatever I post on Twitter, I post on Mastodon. So right now it's just double dipping, I guess.
My thing is remembering to go and put it on Mastodon.
Yeah.
because I'm not used to it. But we're also on all of the regular socials, in Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Twitch. Just search Undercommon Taste. We are on Patreon, patreon.com/Undercommon Taste. That's where all of our write-ups go. Most of them are free. So if you wanted to go and help support our show a little bit, you can go over there, become a patron, and get access to a couple of our patron exclusive things. I did a whole write-up on the different she courts to get some high-level Fey creatures for 5th edition. Nice. That's available there. We have a Discord. I'll get you a link to our Discord for anyone who might want to join us and just chat with us. As I mentioned, we have an itch store, undercommontaste.itch.io. Right now we just have one thing on there, but it is Beneath the Lake, which is an adventure module for liminal horror. Basically, the TVA flooded a town, which sealed away an elder evil, and then they had to drain the lake, and so now he is exposed. And so all of the how to keep the elder evil from escaping. So that's the premise of that particular adventure. So, and I think that's just about everything for us. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you can find our podcast anywhere on all the major podcast aggregators. So just search Undercommon Taste.
Okay. Again, there'll be links in the show notes to all that. And it looks like Foxblade is also with us. So it's weird. My counts weren't showing that anybody was watching, but we had at least a couple people. So I do appreciate both of you hanging out. If anyone else is lurking, lurkers are fine. My numbers showed 0, so I didn't think anybody was watching. Chris, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Mostly on Twitter. Burlew_Chris. I shouldn't say mostly. I don't post much. I read a lot of stuff, but I have a hard time with people's negative comments, and I just choose not to post a lot of times. I send a lot of silly little personal messages back and forth to people, especially when I find something funny, just because I don't want to deal with the negative stuff. Like I said, I've really turned this whole thing in my life this last couple of years into just focusing on positive things. But if you follow me, I usually follow people back. Shoot, messages out to me, I'll respond. Otherwise, you can listen to me on the Redemption podcast, wrapping up season 8, 10, whatever we're on. I can't remember. It's been 8 years now, I think. Something like that. Time flies.
Absolutely. So as for myself, again, you can find almost everything I do at the RPG Academy. Pretty much anywhere you search that, it should be me. Again, I am on Mastodon, but I haven't done a whole lot with it. I did do some, just throw out some D&D tips and got some people interacting. And that's what I enjoy. That's why I like Twitter still, is that I can just like organically find people and, throw out a comment and then get in a conversation and interact with people. Cause I still enjoy that. Again, almost everybody I know in the world at this point, I know from Twitter. Like all my friends are from Twitter because of the podcast or because of that, or the other. So I still value Twitter, but it does worry me that it might fall apart at some point in time. If you like Smallville, I'm doing a Smallville rewatch podcast. We're in the middle of season 5 right now. As far as recording, we started releasing season 5 a few weeks ago. It's called Farm to Fable, and then you can follow me there. But I think pretty much anybody who's listening to this knows who I am, so I can stop there. All right. So we do have a couple people watching. Again, thank you, Sumkey. Thank you, Foxblade. But no questions. But we do have the one question we always ask everybody. So unless a question comes in, we will do that tonight. So Ian, imagine that you are being turned into an action figure, not like your physical body is being transformed into one, but that they're going to make an action figure out of you. What are the 3 accessories that are going to come in your package?
3 accessories that are going to come in my package.
Yes.
Let's see here. Mainly because I have been having to do a lot of home improvement projects lately because my house is falling down around me. I'm going to say a hammer, an extension ladder, and a pair of lineman's pliers.
Nice.
So a whole construction themed sort
Yeah.
of thing. Construction set. That'll be the play set that comes with it too. It's like a wall that falls down and like you have to put like
A roof that
magnetized
leaks.
drywall snaps into place type of a thing.
Yeah, I spent all day today dealing with roofing contractors and stuff because the roof's leaking and it's been raining for the last 2 weeks.
I mean, that's the
Fun.
thing is like you don't know you don't realize it's raining or it's leaking until you get a lot of rain, and then it's like, oh God, there's a lot of rain and we have a leaky roof. It just usually comes together like that, unfortunately.
Well, and the thing was, I thought I had fixed it. I thought that I had found where it was leaking and sealed it and fixed it, and then 2 weeks of rain demonstrated that no, you have not.
Yeah. I had my first house that we bought up in Cleveland. We had that, and again, not getting too far in it, but it's sometimes hard to find where it's leaking because the water will pool and move. So where you see it does not mean that's where it's coming from. And
Well, I can actually see from the underside of the roof in the attic exactly where it's coming in. So we do at least have that.
all right, nice. Well, Ian, thank you for being here. It was really nice to get to meet you. This is the first time we've ever actually really met, other than a couple of things on Discord. I hope you had a good time. Hopefully you'll consider coming back. For anyone watching now or in the future, again, we do this basically every other week on Wednesdays, except we're not going to do it in 2 weeks because of the holidays. So it'll be into January before you see us again. But I hope you had a good time, and hopefully we'll see you in the new year. And so with that, we'll just say, as we always do, if you're having fun,
You're doing it right.
you're doing it right. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.
Night.
Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate or not.